All right. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Nice to
Hello.
meet you. Hi, I'm Patty.
George.
George, nice to meet you. Okay,
Hey,
I think
George.
I have an idea who the names are now. George, Kiro, Andy, Danny, Joe, Alaria, Bubbly,
We're smoking
Marianne?
today.
Maren? Muret. Okay, sorry. It's always the M names. I'm sorry. And Sam I know from before.
Just remember the one that does the announcements for the grad retreats.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so nice to see you guys all today. My name is Patty, and I am a mental health pharmacist and also a resilience trainer. And this presentation doesn't really have a lot of, like, it's not science-based. It's more a little bit of humanities, a little bit of talking about like kindness and its kind of different angles and getting us to kind of think about it in a wider perspective. It's based on a really wonderful book, and I'll mention the book at the end of the presentation. And I'm going to mention it because I think it was a very good read in the sense that sometimes the world gets a little bit challenging, and it's hard to kind of reorient yourself to the things that are the simple things that can kind of how do we say resurrect your hope and instill hope in the community you're in as well. So I find this a really good it's a really good book to read, and I'll mention it at the very end, but it breaks down kindness in small tangible ways and in ways that maybe we don't think about, because often when you say kindness, everybody's mind goes to like service or like acts of charity maybe, or like not charity as in, but I mean like acts of kindness in some sense of doing good for someone else, but there's so many different forms of it. So we'll start by asking this question. What words or action come to mind when you think of kindness?
Giving someone a hug.
Giving someone a hug, yes. A bear hug or a regular hug?
A big hug.
A big hug, okay. How long is the hug? Because at some point it gets inappropriate.
I'll last for like a minute or two.
Okay, I'm just joking. Okay, so a hug is a great way of showing kindness. What's another way of showing kindness?
I guess smiling.
Smiling, yes, definitely. Anyone else?
Listening.
Listening, yes.
The other person, like trying to listen.
Giving full attention to the
Yes.
conversation and
Yes.
to the person you're with. Okay.
Dropping off a cup of tea or coffee to someone on a day where they're having a rough day.
Yes. Doing something without expecting anything in return to cheer someone up in some sense, whether it's like a gift or a thoughtful thing that you present for them. Yeah. What else?
Calling someone that hasn't been called for a long time on the phone.
A sense of outreach or connection, remembering someone. Memory is actually a great way of showing someone kindness, is that when you remember them. Because oftentimes people struggle with this idea that no one remembers me, no one thinks of me, right? So giving someone a call when they don't expect it, that's a great way, yeah. What else? Anyone else?
Surprising a friend in a way. I don't know.
Surprising a friend in what way?
In like in a good way, I guess. Like giving them something or helping them with something.
Yeah, like being present in people's lives without waiting to be asked sometimes. Because sometimes people need that. They need to know that you're there, that you're checking in. Hi, good to see you. So those are all really great ways to think about kindness. So we're going to start by watching this short video. I don't know if it's better to turn off the lights, or are we okay to just... Okay, so I'm going to try this, and I hope you guys hear this, because I kind of...
I'm cold.
How long is the video?
My feet are cold.
It's not that long. I'm just going to turn off the lights if I can.
Hear it very well.
As long as you can hear it.
What are they doing now?
I wouldn't like me if I had to meet me. No, I'd avoid me completely if I were me. I'm not a very pleasant
There's
person.
some old man sitting and talking about his life, and you just see pictures of him with his cat and his dog.
I'm always
I
trying
just listened
to
the
look
dialogue.
at people who smile and who have laughter. I'm always trying to work out what motivates them and how can I be like that too. You know, I also want to be happy. I mean, I can actually remember my last belly laugh, and that was more than 20 years ago. I became too cynical. I'm always hypercritical. I don't know why I'm fixated about finding faults in people. I'm not sure what it is. Yes, perhaps I'm looking at myself and I see my own weakness in other people and I'm trying to work through it. You know, I don't really know. I've lost faith in human nature, but I met a dog who didn't. It was an awful dog. Looked awful. She had spindly legs and a roly-poly body and no teeth, of course. And people were kicking her and shooing her away. The dog kept coming back, even though people were kicking her. And this dog came up to me, and it blew my mind. I mean, here's an animal that has been kicked around by humans constantly, but it hasn't given up on the chance of finding love. She hadn't lost faith in human beings. She just kept trying to find somebody to look after her and to love her. And it broke my heart, so I took the dog on, and it turned out to be my best friend. Her name, I called her Moja Manuger. And she was also nicknamed the Minister of Defense because she had no teeth. And if she lay in a little box and the other dogs came near, she would, "Rah!" But she was toothless, so it was just a scam, you know. It was a defense mechanism, feigning anger and puffing herself up and being all, angry, but there was nothing there. She couldn't hurt, she was harmless. I think empathy is a good thing, an understanding of why somebody is like they are. I think a lot of people do want to be understood. I think a lot of people just want that empathy. They just want the understanding of what drives them and motivates them. She just exuded absolute gratitude, and she had a sense of belonging, you know. I think it's very significant that she kept trying and she was rewarded for that attempt. And so even when things are really bad and one feels really depressed and everybody's nasty to you, if you keep trying to be nice to people, it will reciprocate and somebody will give you love and be nice back to you. So yeah, that is the glimmer of hope. Being nice to people and they give it back. I'm fully aware of beautiful people doing beautiful things for other people. Doff my hat to them. I haven't got a hat, of course, but if I had a hat, I'd doff it. Those people who kind and charitable without accolade, they're the truly good people in this world. We need more of those. Oh, for sure, you know. I'd like to strive to becoming better, and I certainly would like to go out with a little last thought in my head saying, I tried not to be so nasty. There's also a story about a bloke who learned to play piano at 60 and ended up at the Carnegie Hall at 80. So I do take a little bit of hope in the fact that it's never too late to get going. And Mojo taught me these lessons. She allowed me to believe that there is a chance that humans are good.
Is everybody's eyes hurting from being in the dark for too
To
long?
all of you who have contributed, for those of you who've shared our films, for those of you who have written our comments, this journey has just been...
Here we go. Okay. So, any thoughts on that story or that man's experience with kindness?
I think he never experienced someone to be empathizing his situation.
It was hard for him to find someone who understands where he's coming from. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah.
no one really listened to him or empathized what he's going through.
But also he does express that he himself, because he struggled with being sad for so long, he had an inability to control, being nasty sometimes to other people, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
sometimes there are people who suffer, and in their suffering, they unintentionally hurt others, right?
Yeah. He did mention that, but I'm saying.
I do understand. Yeah.
No one, even though he may have been nasty to other people, no one was present when he was nasty or good or whatever. No one was present of his feelings. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No one was a witness to his emotions, basically, and his
Exactly.
feelings. Yes. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Okay. So he does mention a couple of forms of kindness in this video. He talks about gratitude. He talks about sense of belonging. He talks about, he talks about being charitable. So there's a couple of different ways to look at kindness. And some of the forms that we're going to talk about today, we're not going to talk about all of them, but we're going to talk about most of them. Include some of the things on the slide, which is honesty, warmth, forgiveness, contact, sense of belonging, trust, mindfulness or attention, empathy, humility, patience, generosity, and respect. There's also things like flexibility and memory. I did mention when you remember someone, it's an act of kindness in its own way. When you're flexible, it has to do with the fact that sometimes we're rigid in our ways, and that could seem quite unkind, right? Because if you are rigid in your way, you are forcing the other person in the relationship or in the friendship or in the partnership to constantly compromise, right? So even flexibility is a form of kindness. And then there's loyalty, gratitude, and service. And obviously sharing of joy is a form of kindness. So let's start talking about the first one. So honesty. So there's a quote here that says, "Nothing in this world is harder than speaking the truth, nothing easier than flattery." What do you guys think of this quote?
I think it's easy to be honest. If you want a person to be your real friend, it's important to be honest.
Right, but what is this quote really saying?
It's saying that that flattery is better than being honest. Basically, to be say something that's maybe not true.
You mean it's easier?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's easier to say something that's not true because this quote's talking about flattery instead of being honest.
Right, okay. So does anyone else have an idea of what is a good example where this is true in everyday life?
Uncomfortable truths are difficult.
Uncomfortable truth. Give me an example.
Like if somebody is has a bad habit that you're trying to
You're
address.
tiptoeing around.
Yeah, if
you're walking on
tiptoeing, yeah.
eggshells around him
Yeah.
because you're like, this is a friend, and
Yeah.
you don't want to hurt
The
his
funny
feelings.
thing for me is that I'm truthful and honest how I feel with each person. I won't hide it.
Right. Okay. That's good.
I know some people will hide it, but me personally, I will not hide it. I will be honest and true.
Yeah, but I mean, even if people, it's interesting because I do believe when people hide what they're really thinking, in their mind, it's an act of kindness because they don't want to hurt someone's feeling. But I think if you are in that state for too long or surrounded by people like that too much, you can end up advancing, I say, in a vice, in something that is a bad quality in you without being aware, right? It's
What are you
almost like
talking about? Like
you're sheltered.
If you're hiding, you're saying?
I'm saying if people around you are not addressing, they're not confronting you with the truth you need to hear,
Right.
out of kindness in their own way of seeing things, that can itself cause
Oh, I see
trouble.
what you're saying now. Now I understand.
Yeah?
When they're hiding and not telling the complete truth, that can
Right.
cause a vice for you.
That can be challenging. Yes.
Okay,
So
now I understand what you're saying.
no problem.
I wasn't clear. Because
That's
you said
okay.
advice, so I always think it's something addictive when you said advice.
It doesn't have to be addictive. Okay, so second one is warmth. And Mother Teresa says, let there be kindness in your face, in your eyes, in your smile, in the warmth of your greeting. Don't only give your care, but give your heart as well. Do people feel like nowadays, and I'm going to ask, Joseph, I'm going to need you to not answer because you're going to rush into answering this. So I'm going to just present it to everyone. Do people feel like it's challenging nowadays to express this form of kindness?
Warmth?
Warmth. Or is that always something that's easy?
I feel like the world today is kind of cold for some reason.
Okay. Anyone else?
Like there's hypervigilance of everything that we do and what it means. And if I take 2 steps closer to someone that is like borderline harassment, and if you look at them too intensely, then you're crazy.
We live in a hyper-calculated world where maybe it's a little bit, everything is too rational. There's a meaning to everything, and sometimes it's not meaning, it's instinct. Like you smile out of an instinct or out of acknowledgement of someone in the elevator. Instead of someone, smile at someone and they think you're creepy.
I think also,
right?
I think also the issue with warmth is that we are too busy in a bubble and we forget about each other.
Maybe sometimes it's distracted. Sometimes you're in your head. Sometimes you're on your phone. Sometimes you're in the rush of the day and there's something on your mind. Yeah.
Or like the busyness of your own problems. That's what I mean.
Yeah. That's possible. But also this idea that like someone smiled at me. What does that mean? And I think we're in a time where everything has to mean something, which is really strange. I remember someone making a comment that like, and all over the world, people smile at strangers, it's not an issue. But if you do it in Toronto, someone thinks something is off with you. Why? Right? So it's this idea that like sometimes we want to be the source of joy. We want to share that joy with other people. We want to initiate a friendly conversation in the elevator or in a random wait line at Service Ontario for God knows, I don't know what reason, because we're bored. But everything seems to be like, it seems like everybody, people are walking around in mental compartments. They're not always aware of who's around them. And anyone who talks to them, it's like, why are you?
Why are you being so nice?
Or why are you being so nice? Or actually like,
That's what I think.
Right? It's weird.
I think the reason why they think this way is because the world is kind of cold and not as nice as we could be.
You know what? I think it's a very big generalization.
I know it's a generalization.
And I always get weary of generalization because, the people around you are most of the time not very different from you. And this idea that like I have kindness to give, but everybody is unkind is...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying...
Yeah. I know what you're saying,
I'm
Jose.
saying even we can be cold, but I'm saying I think I could feel that the actual world is cold in some parts, like
Yes,
Canada.
the industrial world is very
That's what I
yes.
was trying to get at.
Yeah.
That's what I was
I
trying
mean,
to
I mean, some countries are cultural very different. So yeah, but cultures are something that we reinforce. So we can either reinforce a bad habit in a culture or a good habit, right? So
Right, right. I was just thinking, like, because the industrial cultures, I feel some countries, not all, can become cold because it becomes more individualized.
yes, which is different than socialistic countries and societies, definitely.
I think it's also because we are well known, one of the top cities in the whole world, that we have more than 50% of Torontonians are born outside of Canada. So with these diverse cultures, and we don't have the melting pot like that the US have. We have like go in, be within your society, within your community. That's what you've been told when you immigrate. No integration, no true integration in place in this city. So that's maybe why everybody seems to be is comfortable only with their niche. So
In their tribes, everybody has a tribe, but with others people they're not
it's like
open.
strange, yeah. But I'm hoping that this will be kind of as more immigration comes into play, because as we know that the birth rate here is almost negative. So as more immigration comes and this aggressive, immigration plan for the citizenship and immigration in Canada, like 500,000 every year, that as those 50% land in this city, so as more people come in the city with this diverse culture, you will start seeing more integration takes place, without you going after it, because it will be like more and more kind of.
So I actually think so. I get what you're saying, Tim, but I actually think the opposite is probably true, meaning that the less when you come in and you come to a country. So if you think of the people that came to this country in the 60s, they are better integrated Copts than the ones who came in the last 10 years, because we have created bubbles and we stayed in the bubble. Versus when people found an affordable home anywhere in the city, they just lived there. They didn't live right next to a church or a community, and they knew their neighbors who were different cultures and different backgrounds. So there's definitely things to support what you're saying, and there's things to support the fact that what are we doing to create relationships with our neighbors who are not like us, for people at work who are not like us. What are we doing to bring the presence of Christ in the world through kindness and charitability and connection with people we meet in different ways, right? So no, yeah, you're right. There's definitely different ways to think about it. So the next thing I wanted to mention is forgiveness, and forgiveness is a really great topic when it comes to kindness. So Hebrews says, "Pursue peace with all people and holiness, without which no one will see the Lord." Why is forgiveness a key component of kindness? And Joseph, don't answer. And I say that out of love because that's the honest truth. I just need to hear someone else's voice because I know your voice so well.
Okay.
So hold it to the end. You can be the commentator. You can summarize everything at the end.
Okay, all right, buddy.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get
Take this with love
I do.
and honesty.
I do.
Okay, good.
Thank you. With love and honesty. I'm trying to get people, but if I make a comment, maybe other people will make a comment. That's why.
Maybe. Okay, but hold on a little bit.
Okay, all right.
I can trust you to be the filler.
Okay.
Okay, so forgiveness. Why do you think that's a key component in kindness, in expressing kindness, and in relationships in general? What is it about forgiveness that is so fundamental to the expression of love in the world?
It's expressing a certain openness, and
Openness to what?
openness to kind of like perspectives, and like you're not sticking to a certain view or a certain like slight that might have occurred.
You're not
between you and
holding to a grudge.
Yeah.
It's an openness to understanding the other.
Yeah,
maybe?
you're letting go of kind of what it
Okay.
is that.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's an openness to real, authentic connection. What else? What is it about forgiveness? Yes.
When everything's okay, it's so easy that we be kind to each other. When the sun is shining and the day is clear.
It's easy to reciprocate.
Yeah. But
Okay.
In the time of storm,
Mm-hmm.
that's when your love is put to the test. When you show how much of love you have inside your heart, how much love you have for the person you're dealing with. So forgiveness shows genuine kindness and all the selective kindness that we face every day.
Right. And so, I mean, also, forgiveness reorients you to what love is supposed to be. And love is, in itself, is... We live in a society that tells you love is something you seek, not something you give. But we were raised to... We were raised in the knowledge of the love of God, which was given freely. And our definition of love is something you give, and you give freely, and you give generously. So oftentimes, we may be using the same language, but we mean different things. When someone says, I'm seeking love, are you seeking to love, or are you seeking to get love? Right? And forgiveness is that component of everyday living that facilitate true sacrificial love, right? So you're right. Is it really love if it gets tested and then you don't forgive?
No.
No. Thank you.
No, it won't be. And also, I think forgiveness helps us as well to be a better person for God.
How?
If we know how to forgive, we'll be like God. God forgives everybody for every sin.
So it's a Christ-like quality.
Yes.
Okay. It's one of the most Christ-like qualities, maybe. It's the closest thing, right? It's a divine grace that allows you to forgive, I would say, because it's really hard to do it if you have a big ego, right?
Yes, that is true.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is contact. So kindness, one form of kindness is contact, which someone here mentioned is all about hugs, right? Right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, but we said not too long, so it doesn't get inappropriate. So the quote says, so he took the blind man by the hand. This is Mark 8, verse 23. It says, so he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the town. And when he had spat on his eyes and put his hands on him, he asked if he saw anything. Why would Christ even touch him? The blind man. Could Christ not give him back his vision without touching him?
Yes.
So why did he touch him?
Maybe to show that he loves him.
To show that he loves him. To show that there is nothing defiled maybe in him. That he is accepted as he is maybe. There's a lot of different things you can think about when you think about this quote. But I love when you read the Bible and you notice things like God took him by the hand, like when God lays his hand for healing. They say it's the sacrament of laying of the hands, right? Like where the priests lay their hands on us when they pray. Why do they have to be in contact with us physically?
There's a personalization with it. And then for a person who is visually impaired, you may need the extra, like, affirmation that this is for you. It's not for the general.
Yeah. It's to allow the person who cannot see to realize, I am here with you. I'm experiencing with you. I am walking with you through this. I'm taking you by the hand to this place of light, of grace, of hope, right? So it's a really beautiful thing to think about contact as a way to say, I'm with you. I'm by your side. I'm your support. Okay? Yeah. So here's a question for you. Can you remember a time when someone showed you kindness in an unexpected way, and why did it take you by surprise? Hold your tongue. Hold your tongue. Hold your, no, No, I'll tell you the question later. Because I know you have 1,001 examples. So we're going to say the question again. Can you remember a time when someone showed you kindness in an unexpected way? Why did it take you by surprise? You can sit and contemplate as we see someone else has an answer for now. And then you can tell us your answer. What do you guys think? Anyone has an answer? Or an example? You know, usually when I do these sessions, I don't do open questions. I just get you guys to like pair up. And then maybe it wakes people up. So I'm considering it right now. What do you guys think?
I have come across something a couple of days ago that kind of took me by surprise. I was going for a business lunch and I was late. And then I had to find a parking spot and pay for the parking in the place where I was at. So I found the parking and just went to, trying to figure out how to pay, where and stuff like that. And I got this man out of the blue coming to me and say, hey, take this ticket. I finished my like I'm leaving and there's lots of time in this ticket. Just take it. I told him thank you. But why? He was looking for somebody.
He was actually seeking out someone to give this to.
Exactly.
He was that thoughtful.
It was like the perfect timing because I wasn't I didn't have the time even to go to the meter and all the
Yeah.
So it took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting this to happen.
Yeah.
It was a very nice surprise, and I thanked him. And I was trying to offer him something in reward, I had some. I carried chocolate in my. So.
Okay, Tamer is giving people rides home.
So I said, no, I don't want anything from you. Just take it and go.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. And it took you by surprise because you're probably thinking like anyone else would have just driven off, not wasted their time, not stayed a minute extra in downtown Toronto or God knows where to get home because, just to not waste time, I guess. Okay. Anyone else?
I could think of a time when my friend, he picked me up for lunch and it was nice and it was unexpected in the sense, even though we planned it, was unexpected that he was going to come from Mississauga to Brampton and then drop me back home.
Oh, that's sweet. That's
2 weeks
sweet.
ago.
That's very sweet. Anyone else?
Probably there's other examples, but that's the one that comes to mind right now.
That's
Whenever
lovely.
I've gone to a drive-through and when I've seen one of those chains where
people pay for you?
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah.
They make me smile. I love those, especially early morning when you're like, oh, God is good and people are nice and there's still hope in the world. It's just $1.50 coffee, but somehow it makes a difference.
But they don't necessarily know how much they're like.
They don't. Sometimes it's more. I mean, what's the likelihood someone is going to order coffee for a whole office? Well, yeah, it's possible. And it's you and your luck. This is one of the things where it's like it's a chain and you get unlucky. You better not break it. You better not break it. You don't want to be that guy. Anyone else?
I think during COVID, there's this couple that I'm really close friends with, and I struggled to connect with God when the church was closed. I'm looking at a frame in front of me on my desk, and they randomly printed this humongous picture of Christ. It was Easter.
Yeah.
And I still have it to this day, and they just came and dropped it off in front of my house.
Oh my gosh.
That's very nice.
Is that one of those like door size pictures of like Christ? Like, oh wow.
And it's like to this day still in my room.
It still cheers you up when you see it.
That's how would be playing in the background, the live stream, and like his pictures.
Oh,
right there.
that's sweet.
It was out of nowhere, and they didn't have to. And
Yeah.
They just thought of someone's struggle and what they can help with.
How do we help this person feel more at peace at a time that everybody's feeling restless and disconnected? That's lovely. Anyone else?
I have one.
Mm.
Been working really, really hard, and I have been, as you can probably see.
You look completely fine, and you look like you don't work a day in your life. But anyways, go ahead.
And then I usually, when I'm like working hard, I don't respond to messages. I stay silent.
You're focused as much as you can. We'll say
And then I
focus
get a
instead of not
message on my
responding.
phone, and it's like, I miss you, I'm outside. And I'm like, no.
You
I'm not
actually looked at
outside.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I peek through the window from work, and I see the car, and she was outside.
Okay.
So I was like, you're crazy.
Mm.
You drove all the way to work to come see me because I was in silent mode. So, I mean, silent, I mean like for a period of time.
Yes. They got concerned, then they wanted to check in on you. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Thank God you looked at that message. Otherwise, that person would have been stuck outside forever. Sometimes you have to break your own boundaries a little bit to accommodate people's acts of kindness. Anything else? I have a feeling like if everybody sat down, you'll think of something strange and unusual that happened during COVID. Because I think COVID really heightened your awareness of people's need to be there for each other. My apartment kind of drowned during COVID, and I would say drowned because it was really bad. I had a bad flood, and the water seeped through the balcony and into the apartment below me, and that's how they knew there was a flood in my apartment because I wasn't up there. And I was extremely surprised that my neighbor downstairs did not put up a fight and didn't argue about insurance. That didn't cause any ruckus. He just said, you know what? It's minor. It's okay. We don't really need to report it. It's a hard time. Everybody's stuck at home. Just make sure you're safe and take care of your stuff. It was the most considerate thing that happened, considering that there's 1,000 other things that were going really badly at the time. So it was just the cherry on top. So, right? So yeah, that was a really interesting time. Anyone else? We're good? Okay.
Sometimes when it comes as you mentioned, surprise, because it is you have a tough time or part busy or
Right.
going through some tough time. This act of kindness comes through. And that makes it more kind of sticking and you remember it.
Oh, yeah. You feel it 1,000 times more than if everything was going okay and this is just a bad day. I've actually I have so many interesting stories about my neighbors. They're really good people. It's really interesting. I've had situations where and I think this is the thing about feeling that you have. I remember even when people were struggling during a lot of the stuff that happened in Egypt in 2011, people were saying your neighbors became your brothers and sisters because your family wasn't anywhere nearby, right? So neighbors are definitely a gift. So the next form of belonging, of kindness, is a sense of belonging. And there's a quote here by Mother Teresa that says, "If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other." What do you guys think of that quote?
I think that it's true. If we have no peace, it's because we don't feel like we belong in the world. Maybe, I don't know.
We forgot that we belonged to each other.
To each other as brothers and sisters.
Right. That we are created to be in that union, in some sense. Has anyone ever? I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, I think everybody has struggled at some point with a sense of belonging. Even within your community, your tribe, your church, your family sometimes, depending on the day. If you're the odd one or the one that blends in, everybody has their, right?
I don't blend well. People, I don't I probably get misunderstood with everyone in the world. So I'm used to dealing with that.
Why do you think so?
I observe it.
In people's reaction?
Yes, lots of people's reactions. Even my family's reactions.
Does that include me interrupting you and telling you to wait?
No.
Just checking. Okay.
It's not because of that.
You can tell me though.
I would. But,
Okay.
But I'll give you an example.
Okay.
My family members don't understand that I use my hands to feel where the food is. And they always say get a fork and spoon and do all that stuff.
Right, because they don't know, they can't experience your reality the way you experience it.
Exactly. So
I
have that challenge.
Right. So sometimes you feel like you are a certain way and it's hard to be understood that way, so that belonging becomes a little bit harder.
Yes, for me. For me.
Has anyone else felt the so Joe? How does someone so in when have you felt an enhanced sense of belonging?
Pardon?
When have you felt an enhanced sense of belonging?
When praying.
When praying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And what is it about prayer that gives you a strong sense of belonging?
God knows me.
Yeah.
So,
Completely. You don't have to explain yourself.
exactly. That's why.
I mean, I think we're all limited in how we even explain ourselves, because even if we use words, words can express
But he
who
knows
we
me.
are, because we don't even, sometimes we don't know how to express who we are, right?
Right.
So,
But I usually express myself, but I still have to explain myself over and over again.
right.
But when I'm with God, speaking to God, I don't have to explain it because He made me. He knows me, my thoughts.
Exactly. It's the one place that I don't have to struggle for belonging. It's freely, it's just, it feels right, right? That's really nice. What about anyone else?
I think anyone who's ever like moved somewhere like new or like started a new job or
New
things like
life, new
that.
place, right. You can always remember the first person who extended that gesture of welcoming, welcomed you or spoke to you or acknowledged you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always find it interesting, Joseph. I always find it interesting. You're the only one who remembers all of our names, by the way. I have seen you. I've met you in so many conventions, and the second you hear the voice, or I say the name, you remember the voice, which is amazing. So that always makes me feel like all the conventions feel like one big church.
Thank you.
So yeah, I feel like anyone who acknowledges you when you walk into a new place, when you someone who tries to know your name, to remember the conversations you've had, or it's kind of, it grounds you in the sense of, hey, like I belong, not because I know this place, not because I know this church, not because I know this community, but because this person sees me. This one person sees me, right? Another way to think about kindness is, another form of kindness is trust. And Ernest Hemingway said, the best way to find out if you can trust someone is to trust them. What do you guys think of that statement? Because trust is a very iffy topic, and I will have to say that. I think the concept of trust is really changing nowadays. So I'd love to hear what you think about trust.
I mean, you can go ahead and trust them, but you're gonna find out, if they were worthy of that trust or not.
So why does someone have to be worthy before you trust them?
No, I mean, not worthy. Maybe that's the wrong word to use. Not to see if they are trustworthy or not.
Right.
Because they might,
Yes,
not
I
be
mean, right,
trustworthy.
that's life.
Yeah.
So the question is, you're gonna have, so sometimes we say, oh, I can't share this with someone until they earn my trust.
Because
Right?
you're building a relationship.
Right. So the question is, how many times have you initiated a gesture of trust to allow someone to build on it? How many times are we waiting for the other person to initiate a gesture of trust?
I've done it every day. When someone guides me, I have to trust the person to guide me.
Right. Guidance is a great example of giving, of trusting, and then seeing where that takes you. But do we sometimes go into life waiting for the other person to initiate that openness, that trust?
I like what I mean by guidance. I mean a physical guidance when someone holds me and guides me around the area.
Yeah, I know, Joseph.
So I was just explaining what I meant by guidance. That's all.
No, that's good. But you are in a position where you have to trust in order to experience the world, and that, because of that allows a lot of people. You have probably had more opportunities for people to reciprocate that trust. No?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So you get to kind of reap the fruits of those relationships.
I guess so. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. You're
Yeah,
right.
that's nice. Yeah. So, does anyone have anything to add about the concept of trust?
I think trust is like to be earned. It has to come through experience and interaction. Like, and we as human beings are different in terms of if we feel comfortable to initiate, like how fast we do and how cautious we are. But I think at the bottom line, it comes with experience. I've experienced this person, like for example, their opinion about something. So I've asked for their opinion more than one time, and they guided me the right way. So I trust their opinion.
Right, but the question is, when I speak about kindness and trust as a form of kindness, I ask each one of you, when do you extend that trust initially to be the first person to trust? Have we gotten into the habit to be the first person to trust? And sometimes people say, well, we don't want to trust too much because we'll get hurt. Yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, you don't have to trust people with big things. Sometimes we trust them with small things to initiate and build relationships, right? I think if we all walk around very cautious and protecting ourselves, it becomes a very dry, emotionally dry, unloving environment where it's a tit for tat. You know what I mean? And the beautiful thing about kindness is that it's more fluid. It's more, right? It's not so rigid.
I think a way that trust could work, if you know someone and you spend time with the person, then you love the person, and then therefore you trust the person's
Right.
words.
Exactly. Another form of kindness is mindfulness or attention, which we mentioned earlier, Joseph, is that listening carefully, active listening, all that stuff. That's a form of attention, kindness. So it says here, Leo Tolstoy says, future love does not exist. Love is a present activity only. The man who does not manifest love in the present has not love. And Ernest Hemingway said, when people talk, listen completely. Most people never listen. So to give someone your full attention is a form you give them a sense of dignity. You give them a sense of worth. Not that you give them worth, but you acknowledge their worth, right?
I had an interesting conversation a couple of days ago where my friend says, you should listen to me instead of coming to a conclusion, basically. Because she was saying you're a good listener. I could be a better listener, but she told me personally that I'm a good listener. And she said, I should have listened to the person instead of reacting to the person, to my sister. She was telling me.
Oh, okay. So she was admitting to you that she wishes she could be a better listener like you?
Yes.
Okay.
But I could always be a better listener too. I can always get better in my listening skills as well.
Of course, I think we can all do that.
I'm just giving like an example how someone felt that way.
Yeah. That's a good example. Yes, Sam.
Those two quotes were people who lived way before smartphones, where it was like it's
They
easy
didn't
to
have
kinda
the
just-
distraction?
Yeah.
Do you think people didn't have a distraction on like in a cafe or a ahwa when people gossip around them? There's always distractions.
But now it's like more instant. Like
Now it's more like you are distracted when you are alone, which is a new, strange world, right? Because distraction was always in the company of others. You had your thoughts and your solitude before, but now you can be alone without solitude, which is the creepiest thing. If you think about it, because people always say there's a difference between being alone, there's a difference between loneliness, and there's a difference between solitude. You can be alone in a place but feel peace because you have a sense of peaceful solitude. Let's say you're reading or writing or thinking or like reflective. Or you can be in the company of people and feel lonely.
I've experienced that.
Yeah. I think most people have experienced that at some point.
I experience it every day.
Yeah. It's hard, right?
I experience it every day, loneliness. Different degrees of loneliness.
Yeah, and you know what, Joseph, that's actually quite normal. I mean, I think everyone here can admit that loneliness is a human experience.
But I experience it every day.
Yeah, and I don't know how everybody else feels. I experience it every day. Because I think, as you grow older, you realize, like Joseph, you realize that no one can really truly know you or understand you well except God. And this is why prayer is a comfort for a lot of people.
Okay.
you know. But it's loneliness is a struggle. It's a human. I think it's something that all humans struggle with. Like there are some people who are extremely lonely and they're in relationships. It might seem like they're not because they have company, but having a living creature next to you is different than having someone who understands you, who gets you, right?
True, true.
So it's something that we have to all learn to cope with, right? So another form of kindness is empathy. Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I'm about to criticize? Okay, let's talk about judgment and criticism. What do you guys think about unwarranted advice?
I've experienced it every day. I've been serious. When you're living in a blind person living inside a world, you experience it every day.
Someone gives you an opinion how you should do things, but they've never walked in your feet,
Exactly.
in your shoes.
I've experienced it every day. But I'm used to it. It's normal for me.
Yeah. Yeah, Kiro? Is it Kiro?
I saw Dr. Phil
Episode.
interview years ago with DMX, and he had talked about how he wouldn't listen to people when they praised him because then he would listen to people when they talked bad about him. So he said, whether good or bad, I just don't listen.
Do you think that's wise?
No.
I think so, yeah, because personally it's about knowing yourself, not what other people think of you. I think there's a certain level of wisdom there. So I think if someone gives you a criticism, I think the most easiest response is an emotional one.
Why?
The hardest one is because it depends on what they're criticizing. It could hit something close to home, it could be something that's triggering, it could be whatever. I think the biggest thing is to rationally think it out. And then maybe even seek and ask someone and say, well, do you think this is true?
Is there truth in this? But see, what you're talking about actually means that you don't ignore, but you examine. So there's a difference.
But you don't let it play with your emotions.
Right, but I think this is when you said he doesn't give attention to criticism or praise. I think that's a little bit oversimplistic in the sense that he doesn't get swayed by criticism or praise is probably the better way of saying it, right? Because sometimes people criticize and it hits a nerve, but it is wise to sit and question if there is any truth in the criticism. For example, like we said in the first slide about honesty versus flattery. When someone is being honest and it hurts and it comes off as criticism, do we take that and do we weight it? Do we try to examine if there's truth in it, right? Because if someone tells you an unpleasant truth that comes off that you feel is criticism, it might be something that you need to address, right? So yes, I think you're right. There's wisdom in not being emotionally swayed with praise or criticism, but there's also wisdom in examining the truth in what we receive from our environment or from the people in our lives, and also to know oneself so that people don't, through their criticism or praise, mold you or impact you in a way that is not God's plan for you, right? And I think, Joseph, you can probably speak to this when we talk about, like, you know, even if you get criticism often, if you know yourself and you know the life that you lead and you know the capacity God gave you and you know your inner intent, sometimes you have to brush it off, right? You can't sit with it.
Sometimes I spend time to examine, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes me upset, and I will tell the person that it made me upset.
Right, because you feel like it's untrue.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. Okay, so here's the question. What are some barriers that you face when considering when and how to extend kindness to others, especially strangers? We talked about the awkward smiling and someone misunderstands you as flirting or God knows what. What are some things, like if you were supposed to do you ever feel like there's things that you would do if it wasn't socially uncommon? Do you ever feel like you're in that situation? Like I've been in that situation. And I think in the healthcare system sometimes, I've been in addiction clinics and psychiatric wards and emergency departments, and I feel like there are things that if I had the time and the attention to give to the person speaking with me, I would extend kindness and giving them more time. I would extend kindness by listening to the story, even though it's irrelevant to the documentation I have to complete in 10 minutes. Do you get what I'm saying? The pressures of the job, right? Sometimes those are the barriers in my life. I have pressures to get things done in a specific time. I've had situations where someone, criticized me or humiliated me because I took too long with a patient. What am I doing, wasting time, right? And there is a price sometimes to pay for kindness.
In what way?
In the sense that you might go out of your way to do something kind for someone, and at the same time, people might criticize it as unprofessional in some sense because you're spending too much time, or incompetence. Or I know people who had situations where a patient asked them, can they pray with them? And they were both Christians and they prayed with them, and then they were criticized as, that's not your job, right?
That's unusual to say that's not your job. I don't know.
I know, but that's when you I think those are things that can sometimes dehumanize a system, even a healthcare system or a care system, right? Because in our humanity, we have a desire to share in people's suffering. Compassion is to share in suffering. That is the definition of compassion, right? So if you cannot share in someone's suffering in a hospital, in a healthcare clinic, or whatever, then we are providing care without compassion, right? So so those are some of the barriers I face. Does anyone have anything to add, or anyone can think of something? I'm sorry for going too long if you guys are getting fidgety. I can see legs moving. I'm very observant, but it's okay. You can move and walk around in circles. It's okay. But I'll wrap it up soon. Yeah? Anything else to add, or okay? Okay, so another form of kindness is humility. And Hebrews 5:2 says, he can have compassion on those who are ignorant and going astray, since he himself is also subject to weakness. So a Christian, in some sense, is able to have compassion on all types of people because he's aware of his own limitations. Right? So that's a form of humility, is a form of kindness. Can you guys agree? Do you have a... Do you agree with that, or do you feel like it's kind of...
I do agree.
It's hard to... Yeah.
It's not easy, but I do agree.
Yeah. I think the second you realize when you talk to someone that... And this happens often if you see people, if you work in a place or you see people daily who are in a really bad place in their life, oftentimes you might stand there and say, that could have been me. If I was under the same pressures, that could have been me. If I had the same genetic disorder, that could have been me, right? So it's humbling to share in people, to be there with people in those experiences. Another form of compassion is patience. We have for the 2 Timothy 2:24-25 says, a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be gentle to all, able to teach, patient in humility, correcting those who are in opposition. And St. Augustine says, patience is the companion of wisdom. I like this quote for one really good reason, is that sometimes we are really defensive. How many times have you guys talked to someone who sees the world in a different way, and they are also Coptic Christians, and you make the assumption that we all are exactly copy-paste from each other, and you are impatient in listening to their perspective? A lot. A lot.
A lot?
Why do you think that's the challenge? Why do you think that's a lot for all of us? I think, not just you. I think all of us are faced with that. What is it that prevents us from being patient with other people?
When the talk doesn't make sense, when they just want to talk, and when they pretend they're asking something and then you're trying to answer, they're just preparing what to say, they're not actually listening. So you feel like there's no conversation here.
When you feel like you're talking to a wall, in some sense, you're not. You both are not penetrating each other. Maybe sometimes, right? So being strong-headed or rigid makes it hard to be patient with someone. On either, like, it's hard to be patient with someone who's rigid, and it's hard to be patient as someone who's rigid with someone else because you only see your way. It's your way or the highway, right? So sometimes, yeah, and sometimes it has to do with assumptions we make, where it's like, obviously everybody thinks that's true. Like, how can you think like the opposite?
I found some solution for those kind of disagreements.
Okay, yes, please tell us the magic bullet.
The magic bullet, like the magic die.
Like,
Okay,
it's
what's
not like let's agree to disagree or something.
Right.
Let's not say this is how it should be. Let's say this is how it works for me. This is how I like it. So you like it that way, and you have the right to choose how you like it. Fine. So, and I like it in a different way. It's not a matter of belief or principle or.
Let's not impose each other's views on each other. Let's not impose. Let me not impose my view on the other.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Whatever people
Yeah.
like, they say like this is how it should be. Like, yeah, this is how it works for you, but it doesn't for me. So you can tell
So
me how I like it.
create a space where we can respect where we're both coming from, without it being a competition of one opinion wins all, or like this need to not only that I have this belief, I need to make sure everyone believes the same thing.
Me and him.
As if I'm a god, for example.
Me and him somewhere in one.
I love winter most.
But that's good. That's good. We need the variety of opinions. I think we live in a very politically correct world. And with cancel culture, what's happening now is that you say something, and I say to you, well, you shouldn't say that. So we constantly try to autocorrect people around us, right? And we are actually, what we're doing is we're telling people, you have no right to express your opinions because your opinions don't align with the trending opinion of the time. And therefore you're wrong, and therefore don't say your opinion. So sometimes that can happen in our culture, I think. But you're right, it's a struggle. So being patient is a form of kindness. Being, not making assumptions. Don't assume that everyone who grew up in the same church believes the same thing. Don't assume that your family all thinks the same way. Give people room to say what they need to say. And in that, you will actually know them in a deeper level, right? So that's a form of kindness. Another thing is generosity. So Hebrews 13:2 says, do not forget to entertain strangers, for by so doing, some have unwittingly entertained angels. Do you guys, yes, Joseph?
That's like being hospitable, like sink to shore.
Yes. Do you guys think that generosity is something that is always accessible to you to offer?
It should be.
But what? Is it becoming more uncommon?
Yeah, in a sense, like it's been. You don't necessarily always have that space to feel like you're able to be generous.
Right. In what sense? Give me an example.
Like you might be, say, going to like a coffee shop and like somebody's comes up to you, asks for like spare change or
this
something.
Morning.
Yeah.
And what happens?
And you just might not feel like can you trust this person, or are they just like trying to?
Is this a scam? Is this real? Is this the question of our times? Has anyone had anyone ask for money outside of ours, or like one of those, like any of those like market? And then the second you offer the money, he takes 8% coffee and he runs, and it's like something doesn't feel right. That wasn't right, for example. So that's a barrier to generosity, because you've done an extra step.
Yeah.
You're trying to make a judgment, a character judgment on someone you don't know.
Yeah.
And in making a character judgment, you've convinced yourself that you can't be generous.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. What if we don't take that extra step? What if whatever we offer knowing or unknowingly what will happen with it? What is our role? And I think that's the hard thing, is that what we do now is that we assess people's worthiness of our kindness. Are you worthy of the kind? Are you going to really, is this going to make things worse or better for you? I'm going to make a judgment for here, even though I don't know you. So sometimes, example, if you're walking around a neighborhood with a lot of people with drug addictions, you're like, I can give you this money and you can go use. And I don't want that for you, so I'm not going to give you this money. But you don't know if this person's going to spend the money on food or drugs or both.
Like a couple months ago, I was at like a McDonald's at Union Station, and I saw this person like approach like a stranger, like asking him for a sandwich, and I thought like he might turn her away, but like he actually like had a big smile afterwards and like actually like bought a sandwich.
Yeah,
he surprised by
he
that.
felt the joy of charity, I guess, in some sense. Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, you know, it's important to figure out your barriers and to address them. So let's say you're afraid of giving someone money, you don't know what they're going to use it. Why don't you just go up to the counter, buy a gift card, and give them the gift card? Because you know the gift card is for like this Tim Hortons or whatever you're at. That would kind of maybe give you a sense of peace, because you know people are at risk of overdose and death, and there's a lot of stuff happening on the streets. But we have to figure out our barriers and we have to address them. And it's important that we don't go so far as making judgments that allow us to prevent ourselves from acts of kindness. And the last one we're going to talk about is respect. So Albert Einstein said, I speak to everyone in the same way, whether he is the garbage man or the president of the university. Do we do that? Let's be honest, do we really do that?
I do.
Do you, Joseph?
Yes, I do.
That's wonderful.
With any friend, I have some friends that are professors, and I treat them the same way as I met them.
Does anyone ever feel a sense of embarrassment if they deal or talk to someone who is in different status than them? It's okay, we're human. We can all say like, yes, maybe, depending on the situation. I've had a situation when I was sitting in a coffee shop and out of nowhere some man sits across from me and he comes with a lot of baggage. It's obvious that he's been on the streets and there's like, he owns things in big bags, and he sits across from me and he sat down and he's not well because he starts talking to himself. Right? He's starting talking to himself and he's on the same table as me. Now I have an option. I have a couple of ways to address this. I can get up. Oh, and he does not smell well, to make it clear, because I can tell he's just not well in many ways, and you can tell. I have a couple of options. He's talking to himself, and occasionally he looks up and he talks to me. I can get up, walk away, and give a facial expression of disgust. Option 1. Option 2, I can engage in a very short conversation, stay a little bit longer, just to make sure the man feels, you know, dignified in some sense, and then, you know, head home when I'm ready. Or I can go to the counter and complain about this man who's sitting here who smells bad and we need him out of the store. Right?
I think the second option would be the best option.
The second option would be the best option in an ideal world if I'm in a good place that day. But some people might not be able to do that.
It's your safety. I once had a guy, it's no joke, I went to U of T. It's like my second day downtown. And I was looking for the subway. It was like 11:30. And I asked a man, the man had a blazer. Says, do you know where the subway is? Sure, follow me, follow him. Look down, man's not wearing any shoes, pitch black feet. I'm like, he's homeless, he'll show me where it is, whatever, I'll never see him again, no problem.
Sorry, you asked this man, so what happened? You were in the subway?
The subway station.
You were asking him for assistance. Yeah.
Found out he was homeless. And then I was like, okay, whatever, he's homeless, no problem, he'll show me where it is, no problem. And then he turns around and he's like, hey, you want to smoke crack with me? That's a nice homeless man. He's offering me his crack. But like, I'm not... I mean,
He's a generous, kind, homeless man offering you his crack. Do you know how expensive crack is on the streets, man?
so like, I ran away. Like, I'm not, I'm not...
You freaked out. You're like, this doesn't feel safe.
Did it happen with you?
Just a bit, like barely. I was with my dad, and then barely we were going back home, and then this guy is like, "Do you have cigarettes?"
Yes, yes. And then he offers and asks questions about like, do you have weed or anything like that as well? Yeah, so okay. So how about agreeing or disagreeing? So you say you disagree because safety first.
Oh, absolutely. No, you don't know what this man's gonna do.
Okay, but
Well, and do something
and I think
bad.
you bring a very good thing that we haven't talked about when you talk about kindness, like all the other virtues, needs to be balanced with wisdom. Right? Kindness always needs to be balanced with wisdom. Right? So if you were to do an act of kindness, you have to be wise about it. And wisdom means that you assess every situation. You do think about safety, but you also think of human dignity, right? Right. So there are people that now there are people because of the struggles in homelessness and addiction and mental health. I've had more than one situation where I was in the bus or a subway and people walk in talking to themselves. Now I've seen them in the hospital ward, and I know most of the time they're harmless. The most harmful encounters are those who are mentally unwell on drugs. Like those are the most violent. But generally, people who are mentally unwell only are often harmless. But you make an assessment, and you have to think safety. Yes, but there are ways. There's ways to protect yourself and to be safe, and there's ways to also be considerate and kind. So I can feel unsafe and I can leave a situation, but if I knew to call someone for help because there's a man who looks like he's unwell on this intersection and I need to maybe call 911 and they need to pick him up, take him to the hospital, I can make that phone call, right? Because sometimes you need to do that because you see someone unwell, they're literally going to start walking through the street or the highway. Like we've had situations where people try to cross the highway.
Really?
Yes.
When there's traffic running?
There's always traffic. Have you seen the highway? No.
Yes, I know.
That's a bad question.
No, like, when the cars are stopping or when the cars are moving in the highway? That's
No. I mean, there's been situations where people died on the highway because they're unwell and they were unaware of their environment.
Okay, I see what you mean. The cars are moving and the guy doesn't...
And the person is having a psychotic episode, so they're not aware of their environment, Joe.
Oh, okay, now I understand.
So like they're talking to themselves or they're like, right? So sometimes, yeah, I mean, protect yourself, but do whatever you can offer in terms of kindness. Okay, so this has been very long. I do apologize. So the last thing I want to ask you, from all the forms of kindness mentioned here, which one do you wish to have more of in your life and why? And we're kind of going to go one by one for all the people that were in the back that I don't know their names yet.
Bring up the list of all.
I can definitely bring up the list of all.
Warmth, empathy, humility, generosity, mindfulness, and I can't remember what was the last one.
Dang, you're good. All right, so you don't need the slide. You just go on memory. You're good that way.
Did I give you all the right ones?
Yes. Okay. What's your name?
Nadine.
Nadine. Hi, Nadine.
Hi. Which one?
So I just want to ask you, which form of kindness do you think that you need more of your life and why?
Like when you say I need more, like I need to practice on, or I need someone to give it to me?
Whichever. You can choose one and you can say from which direction you think you would like to see more of it in your life. I mean, sometimes there's things we'd like to practice, but I think there's things that we would wish to see in our environment, in our society, right?
Wish to see.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Respect.
Respect. Wow. Okay. Do you feel like there's less of that around?
Way less than before.
Yeah. Is it also maybe respect and patience? That people are impatient, irritable with each other, and that's the reason why respect is becoming a problem?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it depends on every person.
Yes.
Some people can be patient, but they're just not respectful.
Yes.
And some are like they're impatient, but they are respectful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, they don't cuss at you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
So yeah.
That's a good example. Okay. So respect and is a good one, definitely. So that we need more of that. And you are
Yeah, Tony.
Tony. Nice to meet you, Tony. I'm Patty.
Tony,
You are the
how
Tony
you?
that I was.
Yes.
Oh, nice to meet you, Tony.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. So Tony, what do you think?
So what I need to work on, or?
Or what do you? Whichever. What would you wish to see? It's either something you wish to work on or something you wish to see, and why do you think it's something that's lacking? That's a big deal.
Trust.
Trust. What gives you is that something that you want to see or you want to work on, or what gives you the impression that there's a lack of trust?
A bit of both.
Oh yeah, okay. Do you feel like everybody is walking around trying to protect themselves?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah. It makes it a little bit of a dry environment a little bit. Right? It's hard to build relationship when trust is not around. Okay, Sam?
Generosity, I think it's
With what? With time, with emotions, with money? With other people's money? With drugs, like the guys they meet on the subway?
I think, I guess generosity with money in some sense, or with time, like it's I think I don't.
With things of value,
Yeah.
maybe, in general. Like if something is valuable to you, are you generous with it? With other
I
people?
try to be, but it's I think there are certain times I think I might find myself where it's like, am I being generous enough, or
You're over calculating.
Yeah.
Should you or should you not?
yeah, and sometimes
The rational mind, the
I guess
curse
when it
of the
comes to
rational
like charity, that's where I kind of
mind. Yeah.
I have a challenge with sometimes. Like I don't.
Do you think we were raised to think that someone has to be worthy before we give them something? Is that one of the bigger challenges of like being a conservative tribe?
Yeah, I think it can be.
It can be, yeah. No, generosity is a very good one. I like that one. Lovely.
I think
Warmth.
I think just as we were talking, I think, yeah, personally even, we tend to stay in our own bubbles a little bit. And it's simple, it's easy enough.
It's easy. It's so easy
So it's
to
like
smile
an
and to be inviting
Yeah.
and to be open. Well, I mean, to be open, I think, is a quality, a character quality that is not everybody has it. It's easier for other people, but warmth is something we can practice. I like that. I do agree. I think warmth is such a huge thing, and it's such an easy solution to feeling. Even belonging gets better with warmth, right? Okay. Olivia?
I think honesty, and I would put a twist on it of being honest with yourself.
Oneself? Okay.
Yeah. Because I think if we're honest with ourselves, we can evaluate who we are, and we can, understand ourselves more and be able to put. It sounds complicated, I'm sorry, but be able to make a boundary of our emotions and what we can give or offer to others.
So if I understood myself better, I can regulate my emotions better in some sense.
Right.
And I can be more generous with my love, my attention in my relationships, because I'm not dishonest. I'm not like, for example, when people are in friendships and they do things because they have to, not because they want to.
Exactly. You're being
I planned
pressurized.
the party because she's gonna get upset. Not because I want to celebrate her birthday.
Yes. It's just like
Right?
being pressurized or wanting to do like others, or just
Right.
because everybody's
People
doing it,
pleasing.
so I want to do it.
People
But
pleasing.
If reflect on being honest with myself, then I would be able to give more to others because I'm not waiting to receive.
Yeah, and I give it freely and I don't want it reciprocated because I actually truly feel like I love this person and I want to do this for them, for example. Yeah, it's a really good example. Okay, Marit?
I think gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
In what sense?
So we live in a world where the pace of life, everything sometimes gets you,
Okay.
doesn't go your way, or
Yeah.
misfortunes come about.
Yeah.
And I think it's important just to practice gratitude, be grateful for the experiences you have, what life throws at you, because there's always a lesson learned. Just seeing what's happening with the world now, it's heartbreaking seeing to be grateful for what you have and the place that you're in.
You remind me of this thing that I came across a while back. It was I think it's a quote from Pope Carlos, but now online you're not really sure who quoted what, but the names are always there. So I really hope it was from Pope Carlos because it's so nice and so deep. And it says, "I thank you, God, for everything you have given me. I thank you, God, for everything you have taken away. I trust that you will compensate me for every hurt and every tear. I trust that you will not leave me stranded in the middle of the way."
It's really nice.
It's amazing. I thought it was so lovely when I like literally like saved it on my phone and I shared it with people because I'm like, sometimes you do feel like you're in pain because there's
Where
things
did
that
you
you've
find this?
lost. I don't know. I just came across it online somewhere and I saved it.
Okay, can you send it to us? Because it would be a nice quote.
I would send it to whoever wants me to send it to them, but
Okay.
I don't have anyone's email, so we can figure that piece out.
Okay.
Okay, so sometimes you when you lose something, you feel angry. But what if you learn to feel gratitude because you don't know what would have come of having that thing, if it wasn't meant for you or not, right? Yeah. Joseph, what's one thing that you think you would like more of in this world?
Humility, because I know myself, I have a big ego. To be humble is a struggle.
What is the definition of humility for you? How would that look like for you if you were to reach that goal?
I don't know. I'm still working on it.
Would it make it less? Would it make it? I think the ego is a really good. Like when you talk about the ego, I feel like the ego is the reason why we get hurt so much. You know, why we carry pain so much. So sometimes when we we trust that.
It's not about carrying the pain. It's to be humble like God. To be able to not be prideful. That's what I mean by ego.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
That's what I mean by ego.
To fight off the evil of pride that
Yes,
can
that's
have.
what I mean.
That's a good one. That's a very good one. Okay. Zeni?
Sorry, Arabic.
Zeni? Yeah, بالعربي. Yeah.
Humility is the same.
The same one you would think.
I focus in my life in humility. I think this is the first should be in the life for me. And by humility, can I have all of this by humility?
Yes. So you think humility is the key to everything else?
Yes.
Nice.
Humility it's
Good night, guys.
the rock. Humility is the rock in my life with the relation with others and with relations with God. Humility number one in my life.
Okay, that's a really good one. Yeah, I think you're right. Humility can be the key. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
His name is Danny.
Sorry, no, that's Danny's next to you.
Yes, that's who was talking to me.
Yeah, the next person.
Oh,
Joe,
the next person
just give me a
Danny.
second.
Hello.
Yusuf? Okay, Yusuf, what's your, what would be one of forms of kindness that you'd like to see more of the world?
They're all good, but maybe a mix of trust, patience, service.
A mix of trust and patience and charity or service, being there for other people. Yeah. I think those three are actually quite good as a combination because, it just shows that we are willing to be there for others, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be trust. I don't trust anyone anymore.
Kira, what happened to you, man?
I just trust no one. It's just the way. I don't know.
Is it because you keep seeing example of people breaking trust and not being trustworthy?
The Bible says you have to guard your emotions. So
Discernment, or to have discernment too. Yeah.
To have discernment. So
guard your mind or
I'm
heart.
then to
Guard your heart.
Guard your heart, exactly.
Yeah.
So if I'm then to have any type of relationship, it starts off super good. I had not friends. I know it's funny. I used to work up north with the trades. I was working at a nuclear power plant.
Yeah, I remember the cure.
And people would feel the need to open up and tell me things and be telling me how much they make, and I'd be like, okay, cool, that's wonderful, I don't care, but
Sure.
thank you.
People volunteer information.
They open up, and I don't want to know.
Maybe you look trustworthy.
Yeah,
you can't trust anyone, but you look trustworthy.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
but you know, like for me, it's I'm very I do see a lot of like I said, I think there's wisdom in knowing what to say and when, but generally just keeping your mouth shut, and yeah, like
Protect your heart, protect yourself.
Exactly, because if I'm gonna open up to everybody, I'm just gonna be like
But
my
no-
heart. It won't be a heart anymore. It'll just be a bunch of fragments.
Yeah, so there's something for self-preservation, but also there's a component that you need for connection, and trust is like key.
But I think it's superficial to begin, and then it builds.
So it's trust light, and then trust medium, and then trust large. I get it. Like you have to, it's small bits. So I actually believe in that. The idea is that even when you initiate relationships, you trust people with small, meaningless facts, and then you see what they do with that. Then you trust them a little bit more with something more significant, and you see what they do with that. And slowly people will reveal who they are, right? So yeah, wisdom, that's fair. That's definitely fair. Son?
Joy.
Joy. Joy. Share joy with people. Share joy. Why are you stingy with your joy? Everybody's so good at sharing bad news, eh? Did you see what happened? This sucks, this sucks, this sucks. But no one says any of the good news. No one says, oh my God, this thing happened and it's amazing and this was really good today. So share your joy. I like that.
This is very important in spiritual life. Like, if I am joyful with God, that He gave, and He gave His only in Christianity we have, if we understand God Himself, then we're gonna enter to the real joy in Him.
Yeah, yeah.
And that joy, it will comes without doing any effort.
Right.
Like, the people, like when they see us.
So it's kind of
joyful
like
with
the, so it's the idea, joy is kind of like the living water, the experience of having the spring of living water. And from it, you can give to other people. But you have to feed that too. Yeah. It's a good one. I forgot your name, I'm sorry.
George.
George, yes, George.
I wish for myself more patience and more forgiveness.
Oh. They kind of go together, don't they? There's a lot of people in your life you need to be patient with, don't you?
Out of my life.
And you have to forgive them for being who they are, probably.
I'm selective in my forgiveness, to be honest. With some people, I feel like I try to predict how they're gonna act in the future. So, no, right.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Because I became this patient.
Were you too patient until until things went to a place where you're like.
I'm not as patient as I used to.
Ah, yeah.
Like,
people test our patience. That's why they say it. It's like they test your patience. They test your love. They test you. Relationship tests you. Yeah. So that's, yeah.
And with the people, like the other people, I think the world needs more humility and more honesty and much less of selective kindness.
Where it's like you're kind because you're trying to get somewhere? Or because it's convenient, where it's like he's kind to you, so I'll be kind to him, but I don't have to be kind for someone who's not kind to me. The selective kindness where it's like, if I think that you'll reciprocate, I will be kind to you, but if I think you're not worth my time or my attention, or I don't get anything from you, I'm not gonna befriend you on LinkedIn. You can't connect me to your network. Like this idea of like maslaha. You do things because you want something.
Or when kindness serves their pride.
Oh, feeds the ego and feeds pride. Yeah, that's not kindness. That's manipulation. Okay, so we got to be careful.
There's a show off.
Yeah. That's not kindness. That's manipulating through acts of kindness. So we're gonna avoid that. But you're right. I get what you're saying. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Maggot.
Maggot. Okay, nice to meet you, Maggot.
I remember you, Maggot. How are you, Maggot?
Good, how are you? Yeah, so if I have to pick one thing for myself right now, I would go with patience. I think I need a lot of patience right now, especially with like wars going on. I mean, like fast. I live like a fast life.
Fast pace.
Yeah, fast.
Okay.
And yeah, so if I'm gonna, I need that one for myself. Just because, as I said, like it's just the lifestyle. It's more faster.
Do you feel like everybody who deals with you feels like you're giving them 5 minutes and no more? Is that why, like that feeling that you feel like you need to invest in patience? Are you starting to sense that because your life is hectic, it's seeping into people's impression of the relationship they're having with you?
Yeah, I would say it's more about like because I deal more now as in business and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not about relationships.
It's more like the hecticness of life. Yeah.
Stuff. So yeah, I would pick up this one, and for work I would wake up like honestly. Like I think
Honesty. The world needs more honesty. Yeah, clarity. No double faces, no masks, no
I think also the
manipulation.
world needs more love.
Yes.
God's love. in the
Yes,
world.
definitely. Yeah. Sorry, your name?
Wagdi.
Wagdi. Hi, Wagdi.
Wagdi Bessem's brother.
So Joe, what's up, buddy?
How are you?
Good, how you doing, man? I mean, me, I probably like all of these, but if I had to pick maybe one, I'd say maybe mindfulness.
Mindfulness, being present with people and giving them their full attention.
Yeah, and like understanding like their ideas or thoughts or feelings as opposed to like, it's not everyone's gonna be like me.
Yeah. Not trying to superimpose your ideas on other people, not trying to convince them of their opinion.
Or like even what I say or to them or whatever would like how I would react to it. Maybe I should like they wouldn't react to it differently, right? Because they have different mindsets or whatever.
They have different life experience.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that simple too. Yeah, that's a very good one. Yeah, mindfulness. It's great. Tamer?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
You need more of it. You want to see more of it.
I need to see more of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on it. I feel sometimes when you are into an interaction or relationship with anybody, you try to give the honesty and the mindfulness in order to really go all the way through. And then when something wrong happens, that triggers, like that you cannot forgive this person.
Do you feel like you're the martyr? I gave them all of this and they didn't live up to my expectations? Because I think that can feed, I think the ego sometimes can feed, it makes it hard to forgive. Because that's the whole, I mean, not your ego or anything, like we all struggle with this idea of like forgiveness is hard because the more I invest in a relationship and it doesn't come back to me, I feel like, why didn't I get what I invested in? Like, why didn't I get at least equal, right?
Yes.
That's, I think that's what makes forgiveness so hard.
Right. But again, like, you know, if we are like Christians and we're Christ-like, that shouldn't be. But it is in our DNA sometimes, like it depends on the levels, but
yeah, it's human. It's human. It's not at all unique to you. I think it's human. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things we have to do. Yeah. I do want to say something really quickly. I mean, this is the end, but I think the most important thing is...
Oh, we didn't know about you, but...
Oh, me? Sure.
You're not getting it off so easy.
Damn. Okay. I like the idea of warmth. I think the world needs more warmth. I think it's important for us to be present and inviting with other people and to initiate a sense of safety for other people, because the world feels a little bit cold, uneasy and restless, and a lot of people are walking around feeling unseen. So I think warmth is something that I would like to see more of the world, and I'd love to be part of that in the world if possible. I'm just going to wrap up with this verse because I think it's one of the nicest verses. And Philippians 4:8 Can someone look it up? Sam is going to do it for me because he's next to me. I've kept you guys way past the time I'm supposed to be here, but hopefully it wasn't horribly painful. There's people yawning. That's a good sign. Everybody's going to go to bed. They feel like they've got it out of the system. But Philippians 4:8. Yeah, you're good. 4. That's 3. Give yourself a minute. Yeah. Okay, 4, 8. Okay, go.
Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good rapport, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things.
Okay. I really like this verse, Philippians 4:8, because I think it speaks to the fact that it's hard to engage in any act of kindness if we don't orient ourselves to what is good, what God has created that is good in creation. Right? And I think sometimes the more we focus on the deficit, the more we can rationalize ourselves a way of being the one to initiate an act of kindness. So I sometimes go to that verse when I feel like the world is not that dark. I'm probably looking through the wrong lens right now. But there's definitely challenges. I'm not being in denial here. But anyway, so thank you so much for your time, guys. This is the book that I was telling you about. There's 2 books with this name, The Power of Kindness. The other one is by a Canadian author who's more of a scientist. This is a psychologist, more, I would say, positive psychologist. So he talks more in terms of like humanities psychology. And it's more of a humanistic psychology kind of approach. It's a book. It's called The Power of Kindness, The Unexpected Benefit of Leading a Compassionate Life. And it's by authors. His name is Pyro Feroci. Yeah, so he's, yeah.
So the title again is Being Kind?
It's The Power of Kindness.
The Power of Kindness.
And the subtitle is The Unexpected Benefits of Leading a Compassionate Life.
Unexpected Benefits of Leading a Compassionate Life.
Yes.
I was just wondering if there's an audiobook for that. That's all.
There probably is. I haven't checked it out. Okay. I actually had the hard copy. Okay. And yeah, I just put my Instagram up there because sometimes I do talks in other churches. It's not like I don't need a following. You don't have to follow me. But if I'm somewhere, if you want to know where I'm giving a talk, it's going to show on there. Please don't try to follow me. Just check occasionally.
Instagram's not that accessible with screen readers.
Oh, it doesn't matter, honestly. There's too many things on Instagram. But I just put it because people have at once asked me, where do you get the talk? And I have the email for this group is coptsforpersonalgrowth@gmail. If someone has a question or wants to connect with me over a resource that I mentioned that maybe I forgot to share, or that's sometimes what I give people. But thank you so much for your time. I'm so sorry for keeping you up to 11. It was so nice to spend the time with you.